Bring that up, but first we need to go to London and catch up with our man Courtney Walsh, who joins us right now. Very good evening to you, Courtney.
Yeah, good morning, gents. When you're reeling out those temperatures in the far north, but even further south in Geraldton, I've got to say, standing up on the Firth of Clyde in Troon in Scotland, it makes me very, 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 very envious because it is freezing. It's like a Ballarat winter's day in the middle of summer in Scotland.
Hey, Courtney, first things first, good morning to you. Can you just explain to the uninitiated, links, what do they call it, the links? Is that where the land reclaims the sea?
Well, it feels like that this week, given the amount of rain that's fallen off the sea. But yeah, effectively, it's different to the manicure. It's it's just a natural course. So you've got the scrub and the gorse and the thistle that would grow naturally along the sort of like the coastal courses, and we've got a couple in Victoria as well, and you'd have a few around the country as well. But basically, just that sort of style of golf, and it's completely different to the manicured courses that you see in the United States. And wow, it's been a wild open, I've got to say. The weather has really played havoc every day.
Gee, it's a cramped leaderboard at the top. We have a look at it with 1 day to go. Billy Horschel is one stroke in front of a group of players, all three under, headed up by Justin Rose.
Yeah, and look, the other good news is that Adam Scott, having been, so close to missing the cut after he copped the brunt of the brutal conditions yesterday when the winds were blowing about 60 kilometres an hour and straight across, he played in the good conditions this morning. It was actually quite mild this morning in Troon, and he was able to shoot a 5 under to get back to even with the card. Now, at that stage when he came in, he sort of said to us, well, I think I'll be 7 to 9 shots behind, depending on what happens with the weather. Well, it just started pouring rain all afternoon, and blokes were blown up again everywhere. So you had basically the compression of the leaderboard. Horschel started at 2. He was one of the few that actually handled the wet weather this afternoon to get to 4 to lead. But Shane Lowry, the overnight leader, basically went from he got to 8 over at one stage, and 8 under at one stage, and now he's back down to 1 under. It's been amazing, guys, to see golfers the calibre of Cameron Smith, of Rory McIlroy, of Tiger Woods. We know Tiger's obviously a shadow of former days, but can still hit a very good ball. Just Minwoo Lee, the Perth favourite, playing as though they've never played before. Yeah. It's just rendered some of the best golfers in the world, helpless. Minwoo said yesterday it's the hardest he's ever played. Scotty Scheffler, the world number 1, who is in contention. Like, he's sort of been pretty steady, had an even with par today, but he said it's the hardest test he's ever had to face on a golf course. So it's amazing to sort of see how difficult it's been for them.
Courtney, just back over Shane Lowry, because that volatile portfolio known as the punt. I thought I was smart because he did win a few years back, and I thought this is right up his alley. Away we go. And I wake up this morning, I've gone, what? 77?
And he's a front runner as well, Brad. Normally, he's someone that's shown himself accustomed to handling it, but it really is as unpredictable as the weather. If you happen to land the 2 or 3 hours where the winds dipped or the winds sort of died, you're going to score well. If you're in the midst of the rain or the wind, you're in a world of trouble. I've got to say, I walked the course on Wednesday night when I got up here, and as someone who sort of plays, mid-teens or so of a handicap, I'm looking at it going, how the hell would I manage to get around this thing? I couldn't envisage sort of getting around. And you look at the best of the best, and you can see why. It's an amazingly brutal course when the conditions are like this. And let's just say that summer may have arrived for about half a day on Wednesday, but it hasn't been around since. Yeah.
Okay, so Shoreflake favourite now at $4 with Tab Touch. Scheffler $4.50. Billy Horschel, the overnight leader, at $6.50. Sam Burns is $8.50. Russell Henley at $8.50. Justin Rose at $9. So they're the players under $10. It's as I said, the cramped leaderboard. It's a cramped betting board.
Yeah, dartboard job. It's interesting that the top 5 favourites you've listed there are all Americans. Americans have won 6 of the last 7 Opens played at Troon. Henrik Stenson righted what I'd say is the rot when he edged Phil Mickelson here in 2016. But other than that, dating all the way back to Arnold Palmer in... the Americans have had the best of this course. I wouldn't rule out someone like a Justin Rose who's played really well. He has had the toughest conditions all the way through. He's a hometown favourite, but he's managed to sort of keep himself in position on the leaderboard. And I've got to say, Adam Scott, aside from that horror stretch yesterday where he went 6 over 12, has been extremely good. 4 shots is nothing on this. You can see Horschel coming out and, blokes are having triple bogeys, left, right and centre. If it's blowing tomorrow, it's anyone. So if you fancy anyone at the price on that leaderboard, go for it. Scheffler clearly has been the best golfer on the planet for 2 years. That may not be a bad option if he's at 450, given where he's at. And Scheffel's played really well as well. He was good, obviously, in the PGA when he broke through, and I thought he was really good again today. So those would be the 2 that I'd probably look at. But anyone within the top, if you're within 5 shots, I think you're a chance.
Courtney, I've always lived by this creed. Now, you travel the world watching all types of sports. Now, you see great champions, go on a little bit too long. I mean, when you talk about a game and you play, that's my creed, you give it away. Now, where's Tiger at now? I mean, he's missed the cut again. I mean, he's a great marketing tool. He's a fantastic name. We're talking about him now, but surely it's nearly time.
Well, you would think from a competitive instinct he's missed the last 3 cuts. He finished 60th at the Masters at the start of the year, but that's a course he knows better than anyone else. He can get around that one. You'd think one-legged, which is basically what he's been playing on. There's a couple of there's a factor of play though, Brad, and he too is, despite his enormous wealth, is really branching out business-wise and building a few different things. His presence ensures that he's getting headlines. I don't think any golf writer in the world would be unhappy with Tiger playing because it creates headlines. Now, in terms of being competitive, I think you're spot on. I'd love to see him sort of get back and be able to contend again, but I just cannot see it, given you see how badly he limps when he's sort of going around. But there are business reasons at play as well. He's got the exemption, he earned it. It's an interesting one. I looked at John Daly, who was here again. There was an Aussie that was first alternate who won on the PGA Tour last month, Cam Davis, who was a little frustrated that he didn't get a start given a couple of curious sort of decisions. But John Daly won in 95. Since that win at St Andrews in 95, he's had 1 top 10 finish. He's missed 38 of 63 cuts. He's had 6, did not finish after the first 2 rounds. Hasn't been anywhere near it. It's an interesting one with the exemptions. You earn it and you have your absolute moment in the sun. But, John Daly has not been competitive for decades. Now, and he's still going around.
Courtney, what I'm interested in is you personally. Now, where do you go after this British Open? What's on the sporting agenda for you up there?
It will be on the train from Glasgow very early on Monday morning to London for a flight back to Melbourne to see my wife, who not only is she a West Coast fan who's been lamenting their season, I think she's apparently missing me, which I find hard to believe.
No, she's listening in too. She said, I love listening to Courtney on the wireless. So there you go. You've got a number 1 fan.
Home and then back to the US Open.
Okay. Oh. All right. Well, and you're a North Melbourne fan, aren't you?
I am, so we're flying. So it's, I feel like if we I'm going to say if we finish in front of West Coast, well then we're flying.
Now, just give us a tip. Come on, throw one out as you go.
Look, I will go with Scheffler.
Scheffler, we're not going to get rich backing him. He's $4.50.
Okay.
Ralphie?
$4.50. Adam Scott,
$34.
What is he? What's he listed at? 31.
34.
Well, I mean, if you back
Scotty,
34. If you're backing Scheffler, who was at 1 under.
Yep.
I feel like Adam Scott 1 shot further back.
Yeah.
Is a reasonable wager.
Okay.
Sorry, Scheffler might be 2 under. Sorry, but 2 shots behind.
2 under,
if you're,
yep.
There's. Yeah, sorry, 2 shots behind. If there's if you're looking at those odds, 4 shots versus 2, it's really not that much out here.
So, is there a way our punters can get an insight into who's going to be best suited in this final day with these weather conditions?
Well, look, the leader plays them very well. Horschel sort of loves the manufacturing the shots, etc. But he hasn't won one, so that's something you have to keep in mind. Yep. He hasn't actually won a major. He best finished his 4th at US Open about 11 years ago. He won a FedEx Championship, but he loves the conditions. Look, Justin Rose, again, it would be the longest drought between majors, but he's played superbly in the toughest conditions so far.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have a bit of the hometown favourite, the English bloke, although in Scotland he's not necessarily the favourite given the divide there. But he has played superb links golf all the way through. So, he is someone that clearly can handle the conditions and can play well in the conditions. He has been in contention before. So that's someone who, if you want to look outside the Americans, I mean, there's a few on that list that, that had good conditions today that shot up the leaderboard who I suspect if it's tricky tomorrow will find themselves shooting back. And some might say that's Adam Scott as well, but I think I would have Adam Scott as about the 5th favourite.
Okay.
Not at 34.
Looking forward to hearing you on the Sports Daily tomorrow. Safe trip back. Sounds like you.
I would think that's. I think he's well within range, but probably you think probably Scheffler, Schoffel, then Rose, and maybe Scott at fifth favourite.
Enjoy your trip back to Australia, to the wonderful and beautiful weather in Melbourne too. You'll love it getting back from Scotland to Melbourne. Thanks for coming on the program.
Looking forward to not wearing 4 layers in the middle of summer.
Yeah, that is a good point. There he is, Courtney Walsh. As I made the mistake of saying he's in London, he's up there in Scotland, the Royal Troon Golf Club. Hey, Brad,
he's, dressing like you in your heyday, mate. He's got the singlet on, then the skivvy.
Yeah, I was a big singlet man as a young bloke in Cal. Don't worry about that. I didn't mind having the singlet on.
The honeycomb one or the full one?
I didn't mind the honeycomb. I didn't mind them. Now listen, Brad. Behave yourself. Back to the West Coast Eagles before we get to Sully. So here's the point. Who is actually going to choose who is going to coach the West Coast going forward? Is it solely the CEO or Gavin Bell, the football manager, combination of two? Oh, no, not the board. Stop it.
I'm telling you, they're micromanaging everything. Nothing gets ticked off. Nothing gets done. As I said, I just alerted to the listeners to the fact that you can't extend contracts. They're in danger of losing Liam Baker. They certainly won't get Tim English the way it's tracking, even if they wanted to. He cannot offer them anything. Oscar Allen's seeking a 2-year extension on what he's done. He's got until the end of next year. Nothing is happening. They've absolutely stopped. And they can go and boast and go on. But you and I know that from Brian Cook to Trevor Nesbitt, from Dalton Gooding, etc., the way through, they're already on a very, very good train. They're on the track. They've got plenty of members. They've got plenty of sponsorship. They've got the revenue. Everything. They've got money in the bank. That's all looked after. So you can't claim that because that's been on the track for 10, 20 years.
Yes.
But now they've got to try and get their football department right. They've gone and got a bloke who they thought could do that for them in Don Pike, and now they're not letting him operate.
Well, that has blown me out of the water because if you're telling me this board, led by Paul Fitzpatrick, who I've reliably told, knives are out for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't just make Simpson the only. I think Gavin Bell will go. That's just me. But I have nothing against Gavin Bell. I don't even know the guy. But I'm just saying you cannot. I think they need a clean out from top to bottom, and that includes board members.
Correct.
And yet they cannot self-assess, Marty. That is the dumbest thing ever. You don't self-assess because you always give yourself a free pass.
Of course you do.
That's not going to happen. They need somebody independent to come in, like a Peter Jackson did at Melbourne, and others that have done over the journey, and get someone in who knows the game inside out, top to bottom, get around there with autonomy, get around there with in anonymity, so to speak, to where people can speak up and be heard. Don't go to the people you want to hear from because they're going to tell you what you want to know or what you want to hear. You've got to get people in behind the scenes to make a real fist of it, and they're too frightened to do that. Right.
Keep the coming in, these texts on 0427 789 571 for Retrovision. We'll get to them soon, but first we get to a man who's red hot. He's in great form, James Sully Sullivan. Very good morning.
Hello, Marty. Hello, Brad. And as they say, Brad.
Hello, Sully.
No, speak with forked tongue. Don't speak with forked tongue. I like that.
Fork in tongue. Hey, what about this record the Storm have got over the Roosters? Now, you fell for the Roosters. I tried to tell you the other night, don't do it, Sul. But the Storm too good again.
I tell you what, you talk about falling. the bottom line is, and I did say it, and I texted you last night. I said the bottom line is, if the Roosters can't beat the Storm on Saturday night, they won't beat them. What's that? 10 of their last 11. And they just keep turning up this Storm side, don't they?
Do they ever?
Anderson last night. What about the big boy in the centres? How good's he goes? Jack Howard. Oh, my God. He's turned a back rower into a centre. Mate, I called Remus Smith yesterday, and I'm wondering why Remus Smith can't get back into the NRL team. I know why now. He's Jack Howard. He was a big, big player. And the bottom line is, what about young Fa'alonga? Comes on for what, 4, 5, 6 minutes?
Yep.
The super sub. Seals the deal. But, mate, I said, and I've done it, I must admit, I told people 6 weeks, just keep finding your coins and just keep having it on the Storm to win the comp. You're getting overflated. You're getting $5.50 or $5. They're just overflated because obviously the Roosters went into that game winning 4 in a row. Now the Storm is 6 in a row through Origin, boys.
Yeah.
And
Last
night, Big Nelson Asofa Solomona pulls out. Christian Walsh didn't play. Cameron Munster didn't play. I mentioned Remus Smith, but it's just a stand-up mentality. And people saying, they can't beat the Panthers, please. Of course they can. I think they can. And, anyway, some good results last night, though. So a few sides probably got the line, probably got the pen put through them, though. Big effort for Broncos.
Yeah.
Adam Reynolds comes back and, gee whiz, he just does it, Adam Reynolds, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a beauty. I was just going to say, the boy with the barrow, both of them, got the job ahead of them. The Rabbits and the Broncos kept their hopes alive anyway.
Yeah, mate, Brad, to be fair, I think the Rabbits, I think they'll run out of puff. I'm personally feeling the injuries they got earlier in the year, the suspension of Latrell and then obviously now his injury. But, mate, the bottom line is what I'm seeing from the Rabbits is a few of these kids getting their opportunities. Young Gray at fullback. We've seen, obviously, Cooker go. But Peter Mamazoulis came on yesterday early in the game, and Damien Cook in his 200th game for the Rabbitohs went to the centre because there was an injury to Richie Kenner, I think it was. And Mamazoulis came on and just controlled things beautifully. So what you're seeing, Ben Hornby's done a great job since he's taken over from Demetrius, but it's setting it up nicely for the great man Wayne Bennett next year. You mentioned the Broncos. They've just got to keep winning. That's the bottom line. But the best thing for rugby league last night, there was a kid who's been down since Origin 1, and he's looked flat, hasn't he, Marty? Reece Walsh. Well, Adam Reynolds come back and lit his fuse last night. Obviously, the Knights losing Bradman Best with that hamstring 10 minutes into the game. I can't believe he backed up after that cut lip on Wednesday night. When I saw the team list, I've gone, this bloke's off his head. But anyway, he only lasted 10 minutes.
So, Reece Walsh, as you mentioned, he looks sore and banged up, didn't he, on Wednesday night, and he come back and scored that try on the 29th. It was the usual suspects getting back on the board for the Broncos with that win over the Knights.
The big thing about the amazing thing, and Brad, as we know, we talk about Origin, we talk about how they back up. Pat Carrigan was in a moon boot on Wednesday night after, what he made, 50, 58, 59 tackles for Queensland. He was unbelievable. He's backed up last night. So they're the important. They knew how important that game was last night. The bottom line is, before yesterday, they needed to win 6 from 7 to make the 8 and have results go their way. So the best thing about it, that they're on their way.
Yep. And a good effort by the Raiders. That was a good game, though, Raiders and Warriors. I enjoyed that.
Oh, I tell you what.
It's a good game for us, Sol.
Mate, it was a great game. We enjoyed it, Brad. We had a little win, but...
Don't worry, I was with you.
Oh, good man. Hudson Young.
Cuz.
Yes, that's right, he is, long-lost nephew. The best thing about it, the worst thing for the Warriors, that goal kicking has cost them, immensely. Their goal kicking, and I think Andrew Webster will just be shaking his head. It's a game they should not have lost. I know the Raiders got out of the blocks quickly, but the Warriors got back into the tussle, but they're going to, at the end of the day, they've had injuries as well. Young Metcalf, the 5'8", the young kid, he's been a forgotten soul in that Warriors scenario. So, I think that might be the line through the Warriors. They really need results to go their way, but I can't see them making the 8 now.
Okay, let's have a look at these games because we've got a beauty to kick it off. Is this market a bit too far apart? Panthers 128, Dolphins 365, the line at 10.5?
Yeah, it's that air of unsureness, isn't it? I agree. I know Cleary comes back, and there's a lot of emphasis on Nathan Cleary coming back and, what he's done. They're 4 wins and 3 losses in his absence. So that's been a big... But Dylan Edwards isn't playing. He's out for a month or 2 to 4, they're saying. So, yeah, I'm a bit the same, but I think the Panthers at home, I think Cleary will just control the ship. That might be the key, but... We know what this Dolphins side can do. They can score points, Marty and Brad.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to beat the Panthers in my humble. You know what I feel about that. If you're prepared to let the ball talk, you can upset this Panthers structure, but I'll go the Panthers.
Sea Eagles 144, Titans at 280, the Lions at 7.5, and then the late game, Cowboys 160, the Bulldogs 233, and it's 3.5.
Yeah, the big thing here, the Titans have 6 from their last 8 at Brookvale Oval. They don't mind going back. Their Desi goes back. He hasn't been back. And he's suing the club at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see. He won't get a lot of respite from the board members.
Cold showers.
I'm sure the fans will enjoy seeing him. They got all their cattle back, haven't they? Obviously, Ola Kawatu, Superman in the suit, he won't play after deciding to join the brawl on Wednesday night. He got 2 weeks. Fair dinkum. I've never seen that happen before. So I'll go the Sea Eagles, and then this next game. This is going to be a beauty. This is 5th the Bulldogs, 8th the Cowboys. A big stat on the road this year. The Bulldogs have lost 7 from 8, but at home they're only 3 from 7. The Cowboys. This is the game the Cowboys really need to start. If they get beat here, they could drop out totally. But the Bulldogs, they're going well. I don't think they'll be. Yeah, well, they're defensively, they're very good, this Bulldog side, but I'm going to go to Cowboys.
Yeah, well, how are we going to make it quit?
Mate, I'll tell you what, Brad, I'm going to have a bit of fun today. Marty likes it when I have a bit of fun. So
let's go.
We'll go this way to start. Okay, I like the Panthers, Sea Eagles and Cowboys, $2.95.
Right.
Then I'm going to go the Panthers 1 to 12. They haven't blown sides out of the water this year. I'm going to go the Sea Eagles 5+ margin. I'm going to go the Cowboys 1 to 12. That'll give us $17.16. So Panthers 1 to 12, Sea Eagles 5+, Cowboys 1 to 12.
Yep.
And our same game multi, I'm going to go Scotty Sorensen from the Panthers, Tom Trbojevic from the Sea Eagles, into Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys, $14.50.
$14.50. So that is Panthers, Sorensen, Tommy Trbojevic, and Drinkwater.
Scott Drinkwater. Yep.
All have to score a try.
That's right.
$14.50.
And if the first 2 get up and Scott Drinkwater scores, I won't be drinking water.
No, we'll be joining in with you as well.
Well, you will be, but it'll have a dash of scotch in it.
Oh, I don't know. I'll just stick to the amber fluids, I think, at that time of the night.
Hey, Sal, no, your tipping on drive was outstanding. It was Raiders to win, Hudson Young to score any try. That $4.50 got our punters off. There was a lot of people on the text saying what a start to the weekend. So keep it up. We'll listen in again on Thursday. Speak to you on Friday. All the best.
Yeah, let's hope we can finish well. Stay safe, lads.
There he is, talking NRL with James Sully Sullivan. We are going to catch up with Chris Nelson next.
Sunday morning, Tab Radio Racing and Sport is turned on, and you are listening to the dulcet tones of Marty Young and Brad Hardie on the...
Oh, yes, and Chris Nelson as well. A very good morning.
Good morning to you, Marty. Good morning, Brad.
Well, let's start off at Rose Hill, and Waterhouse and Bot James McDonald combining here with the 2-year-old Mayfair in the first.
Yeah, something new for the stable to win a 2-year-old race and to lead and win the 2-year-old race. But he looks a nice type, Mayfair. And I was just reading in the paper this morning that they're going to set him along a similar path to In the Congo 3 years ago. They head towards the up and coming, and then the Golden Rose. So they've obviously got a very big opinion of Mayfair. And look, we had three 1,200-metre races at Rose Hill yesterday. He's obviously the youngest of the winners. He was the 2-year-old. The others were older horses, and he ran quicker time. So that's always a good sign. So he might be a little bit better than just your winter 2-year-old Mayfair. We'll have to see what happens. But Straight to the front, the other one there, More Jude, looked like he might be able to run past a couple of times in the straight, but wasn't able to do so. So all honours with the winner, and we need to stick with him by the sound of it.
Okay, just a quick one. All the Waterhouse Spot 2-year-olds will come back at 3, which is end of this month. Shangri-La was one of the first ones to come out of Randwick, trialled on Friday and looked pretty good. It's going to be really interesting to see who come back and who don't, because they had so many of those 2-year-old winners.
Yeah, you'd have to think some of them won't come up because they got flattened by their 2-year-old season. Storm Boy's going to be a really interesting one, Marty. I mean, we know how big the raps were on him to see what he does. Shangri-La Express, the one you mentioned there. Lady of Camelot, of course, the Golden Slipper winner. She's going to go probably to the Moya first up, and then she'll head towards the Everest is the aim with her. So there's so many of them. They Fully Lit was another one that was good. I mean, I've probably missed half a dozen there along the way that are really good as well. But, yeah, it will be interesting to see how they come up as 3-year-olds.
Chris, the Annabelle Neesham male was good again yesterday, and they fancied Mickey's medal, and young Zach Waddick did a great job to get it over the line.
He did, and that was his first Saturday Sydney winner, Brad. And look, Mickey's Medal was able to turn the tables on Headley Grange, who beat Mickey's Medal by officially 0.8 of a length last start. So Mickey's Medal met Headley Grange 1.5 kilos better off. That was enough to turn the tables. There wasn't a lot between them yesterday, but he certainly had the horse in the right spot, Zach Waddick, and was able to strike in the straight. So probably continue to race well, Mickey's Medal. Yeah. Carazana, right down the bottom there, was one of... Well, Chris Waller had 2 in the race. I'll get to Pure Alpha. But Carazana blew the start completely, missed it 3 lengths, was well beaten to give that run. Pure Alpha, I can only put it down to the weight because it led and just found absolutely nothing in the straight. Maybe the 61 kilos was the issue there, but generally a consistent horse, looked to travel well, just absolutely gave nothing. So don't know what they'll do with Pure Alpha. Maybe time for a break as well.
I love this man, but don't really want to talk about this race. Race 5, Landwin, had the momentum down the outside, and I'll sum it up with Zach.
Well, I was looking at this race again this morning, guys, and look, I tipped Jewellery. I thought Jewellery was a decent thing in the race, but unfortunately missed the kick. But was she a hard luck story? I don't know. That last 100 metres or so, I know Landwin had the momentum up down the outside, and Jewellery had to wait for a run. It was probably last 200 metres that Jewellery got clear. And I thought the last 100 metres of the race, Landwin was holding Jewellery. Just go back and have a look at that. I don't think Jewellery was making any ground on Landwin. Acapella Sun, who ran third, was running on strongly, probably finishing better off than Jewellery. But take into account, Jewellery did carry 59.5. The winner carried 55.5 and Acapella Sun 53. So not taking anything against Jewellery, but I don't know. Maybe the result wouldn't have been reversed had Jewellery had better luck. I'm not sold on that.
I would have put the indicator on and gone to the left, but that's just me. Race 6, Jedabel, and he did have unusual too. Darren Flindell had a bit of a mare because he was calling Jewellery contemporary for the whole race.
He was.
Which we've all done that. Jedabel, very impressive in race 6.
Yeah, very impressive. 55 kilos, was able to dash away from them. Contemporary, it didn't really accelerate with the 59 kilos, but still ran a good race. And in flight, who ran fourth and ended up starting favourite, been going really well of late, as we know, was on the quick back-up from last week. That may have been the issue. Maybe looking for a break, has been up for some time, so probably goes for a break now, you would think. Jedabel, I'd say, is worth following there, guys.
Yeah, we'll follow it. What about in race number 7? It was Kapakiri defeating the Hot Pot. They backed Age's Sail, and Perfect Play was back in third.
Did you see this race, guys?
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught it or not, but Age's Sail. I mean, you can just wipe the results completely and just put down Age's Sail as the winner because he should have won this race and he should have won it easily. Kapakiri was full bore at the 200-metre mark for J-Mac, and he knew that he had Nash Rawiller bailed away inside of him, and he wasn't letting him go anywhere. By the time Nash got clear at about the 150, he had 2 lengths to make up. He did cut that margin back to a quarter of a length, but he couldn't quite get there. The post loomed up too soon, and he had to give away 3.5 kilos as well. So good riding by James McDonald. But for the supporters of Age of Sail, such as myself, we'll have to just back up next time and hope for better luck.
We're going to speak to John Thompson in the next hour, but you'd love to have a stable full of these type of horses because it's just as honest and just keeps finding a win every now and then. It's a really good money spinner.
Yeah, Jojo was a man. He hadn't won for a little while, but he'd been striking these wet tracks that we haven't seemed to have been able to get away from in Sydney of late. But look, the soft 5 suited him a lot better yesterday, and he was in a really good spot. He sat 1-1 for Reece Jones, who gave him the perfect run. And then he ripped to the outside in the straight and was able to run them down at $31, $21 the second horse, $11 the third horse. So a bit of an upset result there. Some disappointing runs. King of the Castle, who everybody thought was a good thing beaten last time. I wasn't so sure about that myself. He put in a disappointing one. And Tamerlane, who I thought had run really well yesterday, well, he led. And he was gone at the 200-metre mark. He is a real Jekyll and Hyde, Tamerlane. I cannot catch this horse. He's a shocker. Last start, he was strong to the line. This time he found absolutely nothing. So never again. I think I'll put him in the sin bin forever, guys.
Okay, this last winner, Ironman for Edward O'Rourke, it could have a bit of a future.
Yeah, he's come back really well this prep and look, won first up and then went to the trials, Marty, and sat out the back and then got to the outside and finished that trial off really well. That was the same trial that Robusto came out of, which won the earlier race. And the money was there for him to suggest he'd run well. So Iron Man too good. Now, I found one here. Look, Willowdoe was quite good on the lead. Led and was sound. But I found one here for you guys. Ran fifth. Maud of Biscay in the Australian bloodstock colours. Chris Lees and Tim Clark. Have a look at it getting through the line late. It was finishing the race off beautifully as an import. They've won up to 1,700 metres overseas. So follow it.
First Australian start.
Yeah. Oh.
Go on, Brad, sorry.
I was going to say, let's sneak up to Eagle Farm and race 3. Well, the name it was a deal of humour. Well, there wasn't much for the punters there.
This race. I just thought I'd touch on this race because the horse that I tipped here, number 4, Without Revenge, guys, I was quite confident. He went for the biggest bath in the market you've ever seen. I must have had 3 legs by the time he jumped. He was around $3 in the morning and he started at $7.50. He just kept getting out and out and out. And he ran a pretty good race. He sat outside the leader and, look, he was under pressure on the home turn, but he stuck it out and was beaten 1.2. His form this prep's been very good, so I would follow him going forward Without Revenge. Even though he wasn't, the fact that he was so much a drifter yesterday and ran that well, I think he's going very well. But a deal of humour, has a pretty good record first up, so the $41 was probably overs there. But an average race, just keep your eye on the 4, or number 4, ran third going forward.
And the punters got back on track in race 4 with Astapor. Justin Stanley looked like it was going to be seriously challenged at the top of the running, but found plenty.
Yeah, this was a good race. Just wanted to touch on this race because I think form-wise going forward, it'll be a good point, or a good form point. Astapor, they knocked back $1 million from Hong Kong for him. He's won $160,000, I think it was, before yesterday, so he's put some more in the bank, another $48,000 odd. Look, he led. He crossed from that wide gate. He had the outside draw gate 12 and 60 kilos. So Justin Stanley did a good job to get him across and get him to settle. And then he was challenged left, right and centre in the straight by some nice types, Star Ambition, Surprise Honey, etc. He fought them all off. And the last 100 metres, he was moving clear again to the line. So Clinton Taylor, Rodney Hay, they might have made the right decision here by keeping this horse. Maybe he'll go on and win more than $1 million. But he certainly did a good job yesterday. He was too good for those, and he can certainly win again.
What happened to the last 2 races?
This is a new one, Marty. This is really is a new one. We had a horse that Talia Fenlon was riding in race number 7 by the name of, I'll find it in a moment. Where are we? Where are you, Talia? Can't find it now. Lost it. Anyway, here we go. Power Pack.
Power Pack.
Yeah, Power Pack. Yep. So Power Pack shied near the 600-metre mark and took a left-hand turn and took out Robbie Dolan, who fell off Victory Command. Now, his hand's not too good, but he's only going to be out for a couple of weeks, so no major damage there for Robbie. But they're saying that the horse shied, and horses have been shying around that 600-metre mark at some construction near the home turn, and the jockeys apparently brought this up in February, and nothing has been done about it. We've gone all the way through the carnival, and we haven't heard anything about it. We get to this issue yesterday and the jockeys decided to have a meeting. They say nothing's being done. We're going to revoke our services for the last couple of races, and that's exactly what they did. Okay. So nothing wrong with the track. No. It's just some issue with the construction site, and they're going to have a couple of meetings today and tomorrow.
Okay, revoke our services. I like that. What about a winner or two at Sunshine Coast and horses to follow, Chris?
I don't know I got the right word there, but it sounded good, mate. It sounded very intellectual. Sunshine Coast today, soft 5. We're nearly on a good 4 there. Weather is beautiful. Race 2, number 3, Ma Baby. I like the recent trial. Race 6, number 2, Shot of Whiskey. Nice win at Toowoomba first up. And race 7, number 9, Fisherman's Beach and Import. I really like the first up run at Doomben a couple of weeks ago. I think he's the best of them today.
Horses to follow?
Definitely Age of Sail and definitely Lord of Biscay out of Rose Hill. And as I said, Without Revenge and Astapor out of Eagle Farm.
Well done, Chris. We'll listen in on Wednesday. Do it again next Sunday. And, of course, the Saturday morning preview with you and Nathan is Must Listen Radio. Thanks for coming on the program today.
Absolute pleasure, guys. Have a great Sunday.
There he goes, Chris Nelson, about to join now as Racetrack Ralphy. Good morning, Ralphie.
Good morning, boys. Who could not have Mr. Exclusive into horrifying yesterday? Pretty easy.
It was very simple.
Good on you, Ralphie. Good luck today. You're up. You got a real tough job today over in the West. Hey, mate.
Absolutely.
There was a bit of a push around in race 1 for this Red Aces from the Nick Ryan stable. It's flying, isn't he, Nick Ryan? But is he a Derby prospect?
Well, I think so. He's qualified for it. The one I want to put a bit of a stamp on is Politely Done, actually. I really liked its run. And, you know, if you stop the race at the 800-metre mark, and I know that's an easy thing to do, but I'm talking about relative to a stayer having to make ground as a 2-year-old, I think he's made up significant ground on the other two. It looked like a bit of a mini target race for Danny O'Brien, so I think it's a really nice day, Politely Done. I normally don't say this for these type of races, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if both these have got a bit of talent from a staying perspective.
Geez, he was 13 to 1800, the winner, and I'm not steering away from Politely Done, and fought back very, very strongly in the straight, didn't he? So it was a terrific training effort.
Absolutely.
Race number 2, the grey. Oh, Matty Hill loves this grey. He said, look at this horse. Wow, what a specimen. La Zebra, it wins for Damien Lane.
Yeah, it was a good double shot, wasn't it? Damien Lane on and blinkers off, and it just relaxed in the run. It's always shown glimpses of talent, this horse, and then the market said they've got it absolutely spot on, and that's exactly what he did. He won at Flemington. His last win was actually there in May of 2023. So he sort of run in fits and starts, but last start he put the riding on the wall with a nice run, and then, his blinkers off last start with Damien Lane, and then he's gone on with it yesterday. He's just smashed them. The problem for these type of horses is they have to take on older horses, but I think off that win in a ratings race, he could pick one up in August for sure, because he was dominant.
Just take 30 seconds, Ralph. Just paint the picture for our listeners who wouldn't have seen it. That wasn't you doing the Masked Singer, was it? In the mounting yard with the zebra head on, was it?
No. I left my zipper work back in the nightclubs in the 90s.
So just tell the listeners what happened. There was actually one of the crew from the ownership, Marty, had a zebra head on their head in the mounting yard.
Of course you do. Why wouldn't you?
We'll wonder if he got into the chairman's lounge afterwards.
This horse looks pretty good first.
Yeah, it does.
In race 3. It did get challenged, but it found.
Yeah, really interesting. So, yeah, we put a big circle around it because I sort of said that, you know, it'd been a pretty plain off-season until he came along last start and was so dominant. He wasn't dominant yesterday, and you're just wondering why that is. They're going to freshen him up, so maybe it was just more of an education situation, and Landmark was really strong late and probably would have passed him over slightly further. So I've just got a little bit of a question mark. You know, I'd rather have the WA horse against this horse now. That's for sure. If there's any questions, but of course, first start up the straight might have floated a bit. He was in front of fair way out. So that Caulfield win was real. I've got no doubt he's got talent, but it's bustling, isn't it? Is that the one?
Yep.
Yeah. I'd say it put a space on them. So let's just wait and see on the others.
Fourth event, it was a first leg of a double for Anthony and Sam Freeman, terrific trainers, and the grey Arquata wins.
Yeah, I was very keen on it, and you know, in an apprentice-only race, you need to put as many things on your side, and having Jayla Kennedy, who's just riding so well, that was just such a peach, and just couldn't have been in a better spot from that wide barrier, and peeling out the right time, right lane, and you know, the horse did the rest. So I think Cindy Falls, I'd like to see it back to 1400. That was such a dynamic win last start.
Yep.
I was happy to take it on yesterday, but I think it's probably the best pure talent in the race, Cindy Falls, but yesterday was the absolute perfect setup for Arcana.
I'll tell you what, this was a terrific effort by Liberami, Michael D, isn't he? He's flying.
Finish.
That was a win, wasn't it?
Oh.
Well, it was, and then you try and peel yourself back and say, well, why was it able to do that, and what hasn't it done, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think we have to take into account that the track was really wet by now, nearly 125 raw time. So, obviously it's a bit of a duck, as is Reprisal. I was looking at Reprisal going, now, why would Blake Shin jump on this horse with that form? And that's why. So it was deep in the finish. And Great Maximus, that Adelaide form's pretty hollow. I know it ran okay, but you didn't want to take the short price hit. Freak of Nature was sound. But, they were both really smashed the line the first two. So staying on wet ground, I think they'd be hard to beat. I'd be careful on dry ground.
You mentioned Jayla Kennedy having a good day, Mr. Exclusive at the big odds.
Well, look, it didn't surprise me that he ran well. I couldn't have had him from a win point of view, but that was, again, the reality that by now we've got a very wet track. So it was raining through the day. Don't know how it didn't get hit by a penguin at some stage. It's kind of cold in Melbourne at the moment. 1:12.8, so I think that's what's that, probably about 20 lengths outside of standard time. And the wet trackers came to the fore because Home Rule led in front. We know he's an absolute duck. Probably doesn't run out a strong 1200, but under that circumstance he was able to. The one you could probably there'll be some improvements on better ground from here, but the one that really showed something was Sir Davy. He's with a new stable now, a former Kieran Maher, but he trialled well leading into that, and he's crushed the line, and he's got no 1200 form, so I reckon they'll find a race for it as well, Sir Davy. But, yeah, this is very wet track form, this.
Race 7, named after the late and great Dean Lester, hit the road, Jack. There was a bit of a tip around for it, and maybe a word on the fave, Spycaster, underwhelmed.
Well, look, we're never personal here, and you're better off opposing Chris Waller's favourites in Melbourne in the off-season. That's just reality, and I've got as much stats as any listener wants to get in touch with me. I'm happy to reply back because the stable underperforms in Melbourne with horses deep in the market outside, of course, of carnival time. So this was one that you didn't want to really go to, but Matty Hill just nailed it. He said rock hard fit, hit the road, Jack, and that's what it was. So terrific training performance by Simon Wilde to get the Quinella and the Dean Lester, and Tara Mansour, very honest, but these three were in front on the home turn and they were in front at the end, so they were going up and down in the one spot.
Yeah, race 8. This is named after Marty, what he used to do when he was trawling the nightclubs of Northbridge back in the 80s. Horrifying.
Vincent Price.
Just a little bit, Marty, for your stable?
No. None for me.
None for you?
No.
So actually, I had a Blenko tweet out that if you were doing form for 2022, you probably had a good day yesterday.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. So what they did, they gave it a start at the Waterville Carnival, didn't do much, and then 3 barrier trials, getting him race fit. And the thing was, the barrier trials were over a mile, over 1,400 and over 1,300. So that got him back in the zone. We knew he loves wet ground, and that's all he had to do, just say, could you bring back 2-year-old form? And he did. So he won. I think Pounding is ready to win if they can just get away from very wet tracks. That's it. And the rest of them, good luck.
Last event. This was a good win, and thanks to Sparksy Richards' dad who tipped this to us, and we got the money and those beautiful colours. Anthony and Sam Freeman, they've been in that stable for many, many years, from back in the field, slicing and dicing for Jai McNeil.
Yeah, well, he crushed the line like he did at Sandown, and the only query was at Sandown, that was super wide and better ground, but he was in the best spot again. So Jai McNeil's riding really well. I think the horse to follow logically out of this is Big Me. So there was a bit of a spruik around it before. He's clearly a fast horse that he'd shown in Hong Kong, only had 2 starts, and yesterday was first up after 643 days off on a very heavy ground. So that's a great sign that they'll be winning races. So I think going forward, obviously a tough day for the punters there, but politely done. Cindy falls back to 1,400, and as I said, that last race, Big Me back onto a dry track or fitter.
Can you win today?
I think we can. I think it's going to be a cracking game. Just got to bring that pressure we brought against Essendon and may the best team win.
Okay, no ruck. You're going in 2 weeks in a row?
No. Well, it's and the one thing is Freo will be ready for us with that tactic. So that's the one thing I'm mindful of. But I think when once I get 60 hit outs and the other side not much, it probably tells you how overrated just plain tap outs are as a stat.
Racetrack Ralphy, always good. We get all your work on racetrackralphy.com.au. Good luck with your D's today. Thanks for coming on the program.
Good on you, boys.
Keep going here with Snoz. Marty and Brad. Have West Coast missed one person who could coach the club? Nigel Lappin has served a great apprenticeship. They must stop chasing high-profile people. They require a person to steer the players through tough times, but must back him through the early years and move on players who are not going to fulfil the rebuild. Time to bite the bullet and recover from the 3 years of stagnation. Snoz.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, but Snoz is right. But what they need that's when they need to go through the process. The West Coast Eagles are a club that can go out and seek who they want, and that's probably what's got out in the marketplace a little bit too. If I know about Chris Scott's being thought about, well, I'm sure there are a lot of the coaches out there. See, you got to be so wary, Marty, these days, because how many times have we heard about the next big thing, Snoz, whoever it may be, assistant coach, and they never get a look. Why don't they get a look in? Not sure, but that's when you go through the process and you unearth a Fly McRae or whatever, you know what I mean? So, or an Adam Kingsley, who they're back in frame. They've got Adam Uzo at Richmond. That's not working out right now, but as I say, if they can go get who they want, if they want to go through those processes, all of those names will come into vogue.
Here we go. Gold Coast need to stop wearing blue. They wore a blue away outfit yesterday. Yes, I thought I was watching West Coast lose 2 games at once. That is Stuart. Here's from Hopex, wherever that is.
Well done, Stuart. Yeah, look, I don't care what they're dressed in. It's what goes in it that matters. And Marty, you and I were talking about this off air during the week. Their performances away from home, although they showed a little bit in the first half yesterday, kicked inaccurately, but from my point of view, is they're 20 to 30% off.
Yep.
Of what they produce at Carrara. Now, we say if you rock up and you're 5% off, you're going to get whacked. Imagine rocking up and being 20 or 30% off. You're gone.
AFL Sydney win, Dockers win, NRL Panthers win, Gold Coast win. That is Brian from High Wycombe. That is his Sunday Saviour. Here's another one from Stephen of Leederville. Should the Eagles form a subcommittee to pick a coach?
Absolutely. They need to be assessed top to bottom, and that's what they need to do. They need to go outside the square. But will they take it on board? That's the thing, So we can all throw up suggestions, but it's whether that board take it on. Do they want someone else to make the decision? No, they don't. They want to make the decision. So that's where they're in the wrong. You've got to go out into the marketplace, find out who's out there, have a independent panel, make a recommendation, and then talk about it.
But it's not the board's role to pick the coach. The board's role is for the football department and the CEO to bring their the possibilities who can coach. They go through the process and say to the board, right, we've come up with X, Y and B. We're all in on B. What are your thoughts? And go from there. And normally...
Yeah, well, they've proven that they're incompetent by sticking with Simpson for a year. When they should have let Nesbitt do the job, and it would have been a totally different story, I would have reckoned by now, because I reckon there might be a bloke who's sitting in the CEO chair, might have been coach, with a view that...
Got it all wrong, didn't they?
Cox might have been the next one.
And as I've said on the program before, he is learning his way as a CEO. He's a great football person, Don Pipe, but he's got a long way to go to be a smart CEO, which you saw at the press conference. And moving forward, and if he hasn't got a board to guide him along, and I, look, West Coast fans out there, if you don't know your board, just Google it up, have a good look at it, drill down on each person's profiles, and get an understanding of the people who are guiding your club, and then you'll get an understanding of why we're banging on about the board, because they are bereft of footballing talent. As Brad said, the club is in a brilliant position financially, members. They've got almost a duopoly over here, haven't they? So they're set in that department. But if they get the football department wrong again and they get the next coach wrong again, then all of a sudden, and those people that we've said, Brad, those members and supporters who have trudged into that Optus Stadium knowing their fate, but kept going in, and getting 40,000 to see your bum get kicked, another 3 years of that, and that'll test the mettle.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Don Pike is that he doesn't have to be the accountant. He doesn't have to be the marketing man. They want him for his football nous, but they're not letting him use it. So why? That's what they went. They went and got a football CEO as opposed to a business CEO. Not saying he's not good at what he does, but the bottom line, he doesn't need to worry about that area. It's already covered. It's done. And what you need to worry about is the football area, and that's what he's good at, or allegedly good at. He's been a coach. He's been an assistant coach. He's been all sorts of things, all sorts of roles. Let him do it.
Now, Brad, let's go back, review the game. Started Friday night, disappointing result for Bomber fans. Great win for Adelaide. I thought it was a good game. I was actually at Gloucester Park Friday night and only saw the last 3 minutes, which put a dampener on the evening. But watching it in review, it was a high-quality affair.
Yeah, it was. It was incredible. When you saw Adelaide got on a roll and kicked 9 in a row, and you thought, wow. And you know what I did? I had a little investment in the run on your boys at $11, the money I was. Anyway, and then to their credit, they found a way back. They got there on the way. Durham was fantastic. He was really playing some good footy. Look, who would have thought that Keys would kick 5 goals, Marty? Unbelievable. You know, but it was a really, really good game to watch. Entertaining game, because that's what people want to see, particularly if you're an Adelaide supporter, not so much Essendon, because you're hard done by in terms of been a long time before you actually made finals, let alone win one. So, you'd be a bit narky if you're an Essendon supporter. But from Adelaide's point of view, minus, a couple of their guns in Walker and Rankin, it was a bloody good performance by them to win that. And
they lost a couple in the run as well. Injury-wise, Murray, and they also lose Bartz. So it come at a cost. I think Guelphy's done a hamstring. There'll be doubts on Caldwell moving forward. I wasn't too disappointed. I'll tell you what I'm really disappointed in with Essendon and other teams. They no longer defend the goal line in those closing. No, exactly. It's just, if they had a goalkeeper on the line, the old back pocket, when the fullback goes out, you get on the line. Both those goals don't go in, Brad.
Well, David would have put him at an art form of it for the West Coast Eagles back in the day, and that's what I loved about him. He wasn't very good in the air, but he was a good goalkeeper. He knew when to get in behind and be on that and guard that line. You don't want goals rolling through. You don't mind if they go over your head, but you don't want them going through anywhere up the head height. But the problem for me, Marty, just for you and your Essendon fans, there's a lot of them in the West. I was disappointed that you couldn't hold on with, in red time, 15, 16 points up. Should have shut that game off.
Correct.
Shut it off, shut it down. Doesn't matter how bad it looks, just get it done. Unfortunately, they didn't.
GWS, too good for an inaccurate Gold Coast in the early game on Saturday morning.
Yeah, the Suns had a crack, particularly the first half, but so they're terribly inaccurate. But the Giants just got their mojo back a little bit at the moment, going okay, and better things to come. So isn't it amazing how they've rocketed up the charts?
Back in the third,
probably 5-6 weeks ago, we thought, God, they're Gonski almost, But now they're alive and well. Very good effort by them. And the Suns, well, again, they'll win at home. They've got to find a win or two away from home. I don't think it's going to come.
No, I don't either. Isaac Cumming does a hamstring for GWS. He's had a wretched year for the Giants. Then St Kilda against West Coast. One-way traffic here. 5 goals to Big Tim Membry. Liam Henry has injured a knee, and Liam Ryan on report, do you think?
Yeah, gone. Yeah, he'll be gone. He'll be having a holiday, no doubt about that. Now, look, this had all the hallmarks. I mean, you know how you follow your data. Well, in the first quarter, 21 inside 50s to 9 in favour of St Kilda. They just weren't getting it right, and then they started to get it right. And unfortunately, West Coast, after a sugar hit last week with the effort in, out there on the ground and, kicking 90 points against Brisbane, it never looked likely yesterday. And they did have quite a few out, and Waterman, etc. Get all that, but and McGovern again. But it was putrid yesterday. They dished up what they've been dishing up for a while.
So does it show you how soft the underbelly is for this West Coast side, and how much of a poison chalice it could be to take that coaching job, Brad?
Oh, well, the problem is that whoever takes it on, it's going to take a little while to knock them into shape. And they've got to have the wherewithal and the gusto to hold the line. I don't know who that's going to be. But Adam Simpson has allowed this group to get to mediocrity and to have it for so long and pick and choose when they want to go. You want to see it behind the camera angles. It's unbelievable. The lack of two-way running, the exposure by the midfielders and forwards where they don't put pressure on. Hardly had a tackle in the forward 50 yesterday. Unbelievable. Good luck if you're in the back 6 because the ball was coming down at a rate of knots. It was incredible. So, there's a lot to work with. But they're so lazy and they've developed a lot of bad habits, and that's the problem. And look, Harley Reid, someone's got to clip him behind the ear. because he just continues to do what he wants to do. He picks and chooses. He wants to fight the ruckman. He wants to wrestle everybody. He wants to umpire. There was one stage yesterday where he thought he should have got a free kick. He's looking back at the umpire, chastising the umpire, while the bloke with the ball is running off down the ground, having a bounce and kicking it to a teammate who kicked the goal.
Yep. No,
that's poor coaching.
He needs to pull his head in, no doubt about that. We'll get to another guy down the track who does as well. But first off, this game, Hawthorn and Collingwood, well, as you said, it's RIP Collingwood, but Hawthorn, gee, there's teams in the 8 will be looking over their shoulder thinking, I hope they don't make it, because this was wet weather football, some of the best wet weather footy I've ever seen. They were magnificent yesterday.
Yeah, that cell came through. Again, it can happen in Melbourne, you know what I mean? Like, you don't expect it and all of a sudden it'll come through, but they were well and truly on top. Collingwood never got going. They've got some really, really big issues, Collingwood, at the moment, and it's a little too much being left to do by too few. But, geez, they're a good team. You know, look, Ginnivan had a day out, the 31 disposals, but, you know, they're just a very good team. Everybody knows what they're expected of them. I know it's boring, I know it's inane, I know it's mundane, but just play your role. That's exactly what the Hawthorn team are doing.
Oh, but they are so... One thing they do every time they go out there is bring effort, Brad. And that's all you can ask.
Yep.
Effort, pressure.
Yep.
If you're playing Hawthorn, you know it's coming. And
but there's no, what I'm saying is there's no standouts. There's no one actually dominating. Yeah, there's a few here and there. You know, it's not as if like they've got a Bontempelli or they've got a Lockie Neal or whatever. They've got some good players, but you know, they're tradesmen's like they're blue collar, and the blue collar's working for them. It's really work. They remind me a little bit of Collingwood from 2 years ago.
Exactly
on this journey, beginning this journey of doing what and going to watch the game and coming away as a Hawthorn supporter proud of what you're seeing.
Oh, you'd be loving it. You would be absolutely loving it.
Yep.
Look, we'll just hold it there, the review. We'll review those other couple of games and then preview today's games. Tash Faithful is heading up to Carnarvon. She's joined us on the aftermath this morning. Hi, Tash.
I said good morning, guys. How are you?
Go. Where do we find you? We've got bad reception, have we?
Oh, really? I'm at the airport. Sorry. Is this a bit better?
Yeah, that's a lot better, Tash.
Now you're cooking.
Oh, beautiful.
Well, you're up to Carnarvon and you start the day off with an odds-on favourite that our man Glenn Gregory's put in as one of his better bets on Bolter in the first.
Yeah, we got Winks odds in the first, so fingers crossed he can win like Winks.
Know much about it?
I did ride him once at Kalgoorlie. It was a preparation ago, but I've had a bit of confidence from Pete and Tess Daly that he's going really well, and looks like he'd be a really nice horse for them up there.
Let's go to race 2, Tash. Soray, is that how you say it? I mean, been racing in Geraldton, but is a bit of a track specialist. It started early days. It was a really good competitor at Carnarvon.
Yeah, he's actually a beautiful little horse. His form sort of tapered off the last few runs at Geraldton. He obviously had a few little things that were bothering him, but Pete's freshened him up and brought him back. And if he can run on his best ability, I think he'll be winning because he ran some really, really good races at Geraldton last prep.
Wow, now punters, your ears should prick up there. He's $18, he's first up. There's an odds-on, or not odds-on, but a short price favourite in at Murr who bolted in last start, but he's got to learn to put two in a row together, Murr. So a bit of confidence, a big odds there from Tash Faithful. We'll keep an eye on that in race number 3. You're on Quindandino. Nicely placed here. Bit of an awkward draw. How do you think you'll ride Quindandino from barrier 12?
He's got the blinkers on. I haven't actually spoken to Ash, but I assume he'll be telling me to ride him forward. He generally likes his horses to roll forward, and obviously Carnarvon, a bit of a benefit if you're in the first half of the field. Actually, not worried about the barrier. I think sometimes when you go to Carnarvon for the first time with them horses, they're better off drawing a little bit wide. If they're a little bit steady out the gates, it sort of gives you a bit of time to get across. Sometimes when they first jump on the sand, they can sort of not be as quick out. But yeah, he generally sends them there for a reason, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, in race 4, Tash, you're on a horse called the Chief Justice by Playing God. You trialled him recently. How was the trial?
Yeah, he's a beautiful horse. I was just wrapped with his trial. He trialled beautiful. First time over the 1400. He'd always raced over the short courses, but he ran it out really nicely in the trial, and I thought he'd be a really good chance heading up there today.
Okay, Wuhan Warrior is a horse who likes to get out towards the front of the pack in race number 5. You've drawn 9, and it's a $3.10 chance on Tab Touch.
Yeah, he looks like he's been going really well. He's due to break through for one. Obviously, the favourite's got to carry 64, so he's given it a nice bit of a weight relief from him. And Zach usually does a really good job with his horses. He was really happy to secure him. I think last week he got him. So, looking forward to riding him. I think I've won about 3 or 4 Amelia sprints for Zach, so hopefully there's another one. Yeah,
just with this horse as well, he went out to 1,400, and that was always going to be his test last start. I remember Matty, who was it? No, Dylan Burstow tipped him, and he ran well. He was only probably the last 100 metres when they caught him, so back to 1,200, he should be there nearly all the way.
Yeah, you think he'd be a really good chance in that race. Obviously, like I said, the favourite's got 64, so big weight difference between them. So.
And in the last, you're on a little mare called Zera Blue. Can we put her in the novelties? In the market, maybe getting home hard late.
Yeah, she always rattles home late. I'm probably just not wrapped with barrier 3 for her, to be honest. She's a little bit better ridden off the speed, and sometimes when you've drawn those inside barriers, you sort of get back in the kickback and they sort of can't make up ground. But fingers crossed that she can jump clean and not get too far back. It's a little bit opposite rules to grass racing. When you go to the sand, you want to draw wide. When you go to the grass, you want to draw in.
Okay. Tash, we've been marvelling, particularly over the last few weeks with the proliferation of racing all around the state, that how many kilometres you jockeys are actually covering.
Yeah.
You've got Saddle Will Travel as well. Kalgoorlie, Pinjarra, Northern, now up to Carnarvon. How much of a toll does that take travelling around, or do you just get on with it and enjoy it?
It does take a bit of a toll. I find it slightly easier this time of year, only because a lot of these places, say like Carnarvon, Kalgoorlie, we're flying. So you're sort of on the plane for 1 or 2 hours, have a bit of a break. But it gets a bit harder over summer because I drive Geraldton, Albany, so that's a little bit more of a takes a toll on your body and sort of mental, having to drive that long. But I do enjoy it. I try to just go where I can get the winners, to be honest. Just chase the winners wherever I can go, really. And
is Carnarvon one of your favourite tracks or not?
Yeah, it is. I'm actually been skewing that I haven't been able to get up there this season. A few things just haven't really aligned up, so I was pretty excited and keen to be getting back there this week.
And you've been riding really well in Kalgoorlie as well, a double last Sunday.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously helps when you're jumping and steering around Mercedes for Pete. They're pretty easy, pretty bloody, I don't know what I'm trying to say there. But they're very easy.
Hey, Tash, just keep...
Ride. What's that, sorry?
Tash, just keep... Yeah, I was just going to say, Tash, just keep in mind, Marty does like a bit of driving, so he's got a driver's cap, a nice car. So if you need a chauffeur, he'll drive you to Albany and Gerald and places like that if you're keen.
Makes him might have me looking at going.
Well, I wouldn't mind having a bit of a rest. Someone else to drive for a bit.
I shudder to think about doing the old drive to Kalgoorlie after doing it so many times as a young bloke. But I think we've got one coming up in a fortnight, so I don't know, Tash. We might have to get on the plane, I think.
It's a lot more relaxing sitting on the plane. I'll tell you that much from personal experience over the years.
It's got a bit to do with your travelling companion as well.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. Some of them you want to kick out at Northern.
The words that point and shoot was the words that I was trying to put together when I lost my words.
That's
Pete Bernie's horses. You just point and shoot and they win. Very easy.
Yeah, well, he did train 6 out of 7 there at the last meeting. It was a damn good effort.
Yeah, he's a very good trainer, and even just, riding for him, you can tell he listens when you're telling the horses to sort of need to step up or step down a distance, or they might be feeling a niggle. He listens, and he really looks after his horses, and it just goes to show, doesn't it?
Tash, what's the best of yours today?
Oh, it'd be hard not to say the $1.20.
Oh, well, let's leave that for the people who like them short. What about aside from the first?
I'm honestly pretty keen on this one that I trialled on Monday's beautiful horse, the Chief Justice. So
okay.
Hope I'm right.
Well, Tom Percy will be listening in. All the best to Tom and the team there with the Chief Justice. Thanks, Tash, for coming on the program, and all the best at Carnarvon today.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem
Tash.
at all.
All the best.
Any time you like. She is a breath of fresh air, hard worker and a terrific rider. That is Natasha Faithful. So, Brad, we got up to Geelong and the Western Bulldogs last night, again in wet, sort of muddy conditions. Fined up a bit towards the second half, but the Bulldogs were outstanding.
Oh, it's unusual to see a track like that, to be honest, because they play on bowling greens these days. I know Optus has become a bit of an ice skating rink when it gets a little wet these days, or a little bit of dew around. But, yeah, they just came with a great attitude. As I said, look, it was hard to tip around Geelong, given their form and being at home. But the Bulldogs just came with an edge that they just wanted to be first around the numbers, around the ball, and got the balance right. You know, the big boys up the front, you know, Darcy, Ugle-Hagan and Norton, you know, there was only two of them on the ground at any one time, and they just worked it beautifully. But their pressure, Marty, as much as their goal kicking and the like, was really good. Waitman chimed in a bit, but, you know, Treloar, Bontempelli, Liberatore, Bramble was solid off the back. Rory Lobb played his best game for the club. You know, he played like David Dench there at one stage with intercept marking and all sorts. And Buku Kamas was going well. They really did put in, and I wasn't enamoured with what Geelong said. It was basically what Chris Scott was saying. They had a mulligan. You know, it's very unusual. They weren't allowed to play well. The Dogs just ate them up, and it would have been a travesty to lose that game because the Dogs were a little bit inaccurate for a long time, and they got it going, and towards the end and levelled up the goals and the point score in the end. But it would have been a travesty had they lost that game.
Chris Scott referred to it as an uncharacteristic performance by Geelong. The Western Bulldogs seem to be bringing that effort more consistently now. I know it was only 2 weeks ago they put the poor one in against Port, but then since then they've beaten Carlton and Geelong in Geelong. They're two big wins.
Well, they're human, and people have got to understand that. I mean, they're like horses. Some days horses wake up too, and they don't feel like running. You know what I mean? And when they went to Adelaide, they just thought Port Adelaide was the other talk of the town. Was Ken Hinkley going to get the lemon and sauce? You know, they're not going to make the 8. So and don't tell me footballers don't watch TV and read papers. You know, that is bulltish. You know, because they do, and they just thought they could rock up and get the job done, and they got absolutely pantsed and ambushed by Port Adelaide. He's been able to get them, steady them. They gave him a mulligan, but made sure that he got the energy levels going in the right direction. And now another challenge next week when they take on Sydney at the SCG. Yep,
Treloar's been terrific. He's actually kicking more goals now. He's a more dangerous player than he has been in previous seasons.
Last night,
And
he was very good.
Yeah, so the final game that we need to review, and Richmond were in this game for a lot longer than a lot of people thought. Then Port got them late.
Yeah, well, I threw out the tip. I knew it was going to be a little bit wet underfoot, not as bad as it was down at Geelong, but I thought, that'll be okay. And Richmond were plucky, as we say with the P. They didn't score a goal in the last quarter, mate. We had Port Adelaide 1-39 at about $2.43. So to Alex last night, I think that represents pretty good value. And for the large majority of the game, that's exactly what it was. But bloody Richmond couldn't score a goal in the last quarter. 11 at three-quarter time, 11 at full-time. They just needed to find a little bit more. But Port Adelaide, they're getting there. Butters needs to cool his jets. He's up there with Horn Francis and Harley Reid. They're going to pull their heads in because they're young, talented young footballers. They can't umpire, can't fight everyone, can't do everything. It's not all about you, pal. You know, you've got to get that right, and Ken Hinkley needs to go to work on that. He has to do that. He had Butters on the bench there a couple of weeks ago, Horn Francis last week. So they've got to nip that in the bud because you don't want to get those bad habits getting into the game. Richmond again, and of course they stump up against Collingwood next week. You'd give them a show, given Collingwood's form, but you'd think Collingwood probably handle them. So no real. And I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on with Dusty Martin. As we said, I think we've been on the money all the way through, Marty.
That's about it.
With you and me and Shorty. I said, look, you get to 300, probably won't see him a lot. Looks like he'd be head of the Gold Coast next year, and that's the way. I mean, if he's got a sore back, you don't play golf and you don't get on aeroplanes. Well, he's done both of those for a number of weeks, so it just seems like he's lost interest now.
All right, quick break. We'll be back. Johnny Thompson's up next.
On the Aftermath, you are listening to Marty Young and Brad Hardie on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Testator Sullivan slice off the fence to go to second. Now War Eternal's getting up on the inside. Jojo is a man staying on from King of the Castle and Charterhouse. At the 250, Tamerlane a narrow leader. Jojo is a man at odds, moves up with Testator Sullivan. War Eternal still 3 lengths away. More Secrets down the outside. Jojo is a man takes the lead. More Secrets thundering home, but Jojo was a man beats More Secrets and Charterhouse. Geez, you wouldn't mind some of the trifecta there.
Yeah, terrific win in the Winter Challenge. Jojo was a man, trained by John Thompson. Welcome back to the West. John, how are things?
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, we're well. Marty and Brad with you. Brad's over in Melbourne. And what a win in that Challenge Stakes yesterday to Jojo was a man in the Tie the Knot colours.
Yes, famous colours. It was good to see the horse back in the winner's stall. He'd been running on heavy tracks for a while, but yesterday back on dry track, he was a different horse.
John, Brad Hardie, mate, congratulations. Love you as a trainer. You're so honest. You're so enlightening about your horses. But, geez, you must have been pleased with the idea to be a little bit positive out of the barrier. Got a perfect run.
He got the perfect run. That always helps, doesn't it? But a good draw, a good ride, and a good track. You know, it all fell into place.
He's had a good record on this horse, Rhys Jones, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. He's just gets on with the horse. He does a bit of work with him at home, and it's just a good fit.
The horse itself, now I think you put the blinkers on him, was it last start or the start before, and he just wanted to overdo it a little bit, but he seemed more relaxed yesterday?
Yes, he ran in them the first time the start before, and he just was a little bit keen in them. But yesterday with a bit quicker tempo in the race too, that also helped, but he was more relaxed in them and, got the job done.
He's obviously he's been a great money spinner for you, John, hasn't he? He's been a beauty.
Yeah, he's been a beauty. He's honest and sort of every preparation he does something. So, and he's a very sound horse, so he's probably got a few more preparations in him.
So let's have a look. He's 32 starter for 8 wins now, over $500,000 in the bank. What's the next plan for him?
I probably have a break now, but we'll just let the dust settle and then decide. But no, he's a nice horse. He's got a good race in him down the track. What
a good race? What would you be thinking? What's a good race to him?
Something like the Villiers, or they now call it the Ingham.
Yep.
In the summer, that have been nice race to target him at.
Because they've bumped that prize money right up, haven't they, for that race?
Yeah, it's a $2 million race now, so it's very good.
Yeah, by Omaha out of Jojo Girl, which I think is a reset dam. Is there any more Jojo Girls coming through anywhere, John?
I've got a couple of siblings. California Grass is the next one. She's won a few races already. She's actually a stayer. And then I've got the younger one now, which is just about to turn 3 by Hallowed Crown. She's unraced.
Cool.
Okay.
Unraced. Showing a bit?
She goes well. Very nice horse.
Okay. How's the stable been going? You're down there at Randwick, and I know you hang out with those Scallywag Lee brothers and have a bit of fun in the mornings.
Yeah, Greg and Jimmy, they're real characters of the game, but a lot of fun. They make it it's never boring when they're around, put it that way.
Yep.
But, I'm definitely at Randwick, and we're going all right.
Okay, so we take it back to those Patnack days when, it was training for Tinkler and the massive big stable. And since then, just describe to our listeners how your business model has looked.
Well, obviously a hell of a lot smaller. I've just got 40 horses in work. You enjoy your racing a little bit more because with a smaller team, you're a bit more personal with the horses. And when they get a win, it's more of a fun feeling because, you just got that connection with the horse. But when you've got a really big team, couple of 100 horses in work, it's just numbers. You obviously probably enjoy your really good horses, but most of the others, they're just numbers, and you just don't get as much out of it as what you do with a small team.
John, express to us how tough it's been, because there's been so many wet, heavy tracks all the time. I mean, it was better yesterday. It was still a soft 5, which is a little bit of give of the ground. How tough and how frustrating can it be when there's so many soft and heavy tracks?
Yeah, well, it just puts a huge spanner in the works, because you've always got horses racing, pretty much every day, and when none of them handle the heavy tracks, it can be pretty frustrating, because the horse is going well, but they're just not performing because they're not handling the condition.
And what about the Sydney racing scene? We're a long way from it over here. How's it going?
New South Wales in general is flying. I never thought I'd ever see the day growing up that that New South Wales would be competing with Victoria, like their spring carnival. But now with races like the Everest and things like that, New South Wales is really going ahead under Volandis. He's been fantastic, a good, strong leader that's sort of just taken us into the future.
And our listeners love a winner like Jojo was a man. But have you got one in your little boutique stable that they can keep an eye on the next 14 days?
I've got a really nice filly racing Wednesday at Canterbury called Zunaka. She goes right. I'd be put that one in your black book.
Zunaka. What is she? Has she been running, or is she first up? What's the story with her?
She had one run last time in, and then she's had a spell. She's had a couple of trials, and she's first up on Wednesday.
Beautifully done. All the best, John. Jojo was a man, John. Was brilliant yesterday, and we haven't forgot Gathering winning that Railway Stakes back in, 2010. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you. Pleasure.
He's a beauty, John Thompson.
He's a ripper. I love his pre- and post-race interviews. He don't muck around. He don't mince his words, and exactly. A bit like Joe Pride. Look, all the trainers are different, aren't they? Like some want to just say the right things and don't really mean it, and they're always trying to be obviously mindful of their owners and all that sort of stuff. But he's a straight shooter.
His brother Glenn is with Mike Maroney, and Mike being a bit crook, I think, at some stage, and if it hasn't already happened, he's about to join a partnership there with Mike and go co-trainers, but he's a very good horseman as well, Glenn Thompson.
No doubt. No doubt in the world. He sounded like he was in the car. I wasn't sure where he bought it. Not sure you should have asked him if he had a runner at Hawkesbury today. I don't think he has been. He may be just...
Well, he's given us one for camp. We can wait, Brad. We can wait. Keep the ammo dry.
Can we? Can we?
I can. I've got patience. Not a lot of ammo, but patience. Let's take...
I walk along right next to you. You seem to know just what to do.
8 away from 8 o'clock. Text line is open. Lisa has come back, guys. Natasha is a ripper and enjoyed reading her background and how she became a jockey. Back in the day, there were a family of faithfuls in Norseman. That is from Lisa. A lot of faithfuls up in the goldfields too over the journey. Another one here, Brad. This is from Jennifer Balladura. If Bulldogs and Hawks make the 8, who drops out? Now, that's a good question, Jennifer. Yeah.
Oh, it's a good question, Jennifer. Well done. Yeah, look, I mean, Jennifer might have been listening during the week to the Daily. Last week I said to the boys there's 490,000 different equations that the 8, and that's been thrown on its head because your boys lost the other night and Geelong last night. If the Bulldogs make it and Hawthorn make it, I think Essendon and Port Adelaide go out. Sorry, Marty.
No, I can see that. I didn't like Geelong's game last night. There'd be a question mark on them as well. You'd think Sydney, Carlton, GWS, Brisbane, Fremantle are pretty safe. But it's
I think if Carlton should get it done today. That'll sort of steady them a little bit. I see them finishing second. Brisbane, big game today for them because if they win that one, they're staring down the barrel at third or fourth. Geelong can recover. Fremantle got the destiny in their own hands. The draw might just cost them, when they got against Collingwood. If they might end up around about 58 points, Geelong 60, somewhere in there. I'm just trying to... This is all hypothesis, of course. Western Bulldogs going okay, Giants going okay, your boys Gold Coast probably come up a bit short, Collingwood done, and as you say, Hawthorn, if they can keep it going, They've still got a job to do, Hawthorn, because this is a bit like Sydney a couple of years ago. Remember, they started really slowly and then they came with a rush. You only need to tip over once or trip over once, and all of a sudden you can find yourself gone. So, I've got my fingers crossed for Jennifer that Hawthorn can make it. But, they'll have to do everything right. That's not easy.
Okay, these games today. Brisbane are $1.81, Sydney $2. That money, that main change came about after team selection when it was that Rowbottom was out. So apparent that Rowbottom was out.
Yeah.
So did Brisbane get this done at home?
Well, I like Sydney, but then they did. You're right. They did change a couple, which I thought would be in. I'm staying with Sydney. I reckon Brisbane, even though they've got a little bit of momentum up, they're hardly invincible.
I agree.
There's no doubt. There's a really good home ground advantage. They've re-established that in recent months. But, I think they can be scored against, Marty, and I think Sydney have got a pretty good game plan to their midfielders and their forwards. If they get on their bike, this should be a high-scoring game. I'm probably looking more at if you just want to have an interest on the game, maybe go over. I think they've even increased the line. I think it's gone up
180.5. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's high, but they can do that. They can. It's a pretty good day up there in Brisbane as well, so maybe that's the way to go. But I'm tipping Sydney.
Fremantle have been one of the best backed of the week, 142 into 134. The D's go 285 out to 325.
Yeah, probably showed their hand against your boys last week, Melbourne, without the ruck, and we thought, they can't win Melbourne without Petrarca and Gawn.
Then the rain came. The rain helped them no end.
Exactly. So, what's the weather? You going to get any showers there today?
Yeah,
up to 3. Is it going to be a little slippery? Or?
Yeah, it will be. It will be. It's been a very wet week, and it's been windy and blowy. What are we looking at today? It's up to 3 mil.
Well, I think that'll bring Melbourne into it a little bit more. No, Fremantle won in the wet against Richmond the other week, but that was Richmond. This is Melbourne. Rivers is going well. These sort of blokes getting back into a bit of form. Van Ruyen will have to do a really good job against Jackson and Big Darcy in the ruck. But, Fremantle should be winning this, and this is the one they need to lock in, and they've got the wood over them. They smashed them in Alice Springs, but they just got to make sure, just keep your head in the game, Freo.
Carlton, North Melbourne, they're $1.12. Carlton, geez, they need a good steadier, don't they? Carlton, North Melbourne at 6.10. It's 38.5.
Yeah, a bit of value here, I think. Carlton winning and the scoreline over 184.5. The ball will ping around, I reckon. Carlton, there'll be, Cripps and Walsh, they'll be attacking. You got Curnow and Co up the front. They should be going well. And down the other end, North Melbourne should get a few looks at it. They've got Wiedering, and they need a bit more support down the back half. They leak as well, Carlton. So I think this will be a high-scoring game, but you can't see the upset there. But you're not going to make any money out of the Winx-like odds with Carlton.
Good to see Griffin Logue back. Zach Fisher back too for the North Melbourne team. Robert Hansen Jr. So the big WA connection there, getting back into this game today for North Melbourne. North Melbourne, don't forget, write them off at your peril after that poor game against Sydney, but their 5 weeks before that was spot on. And you get that with younger players, don't you? It was a point that Riley Morgan made, that all of a sudden after 5 or 6 games you're going to get a bit of a slip up, but they can bounce back on their bike. If they do, they'll take it up to Carlton.
Yeah, just probably run into Carlton at the wrong time because, Carlton have been upset the last 2 weeks. 39-point leaders against Giants, run over. Never looked like it last week. The Bulldogs got hold of them, even though they started well. 7 crooked behinds, the Bulldogs worked their way in and got them. So, they're going to be antsy, and Vossi's going to be antsy. He's going to be really knuckling down on the basics and the fundamentals of the game. They're a very good scoring team from stoppage, and they'll be looking to do that again today, I would have thought.
A bit unlucky, North. They ran into Sydney off 2 losses as well. Coolbinia Colts.
Life's about timing, isn't it?
Yeah,
life's about timing.
Certainly is now. Pies are cooked, but the Cooley Colts are on fire. Coolbinia Colts, the Coolies, we're coming for the flag and happy feet tattoos. I'm the trainer of these kids, and they are champions. That is Jim of Pommy Pie. Good on you, Jimmy.
Good on you, Jimmy. What colour are Coolbinia? Send in quickly. What colour are Coolbinia?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you there, Brad. Coolbinia Colts, can't tell you, no. But he's already...
Coolbellup used to be the Geelong colours. They were, Coolbellup. But Coolbinia is different. They'd be probably different colour. Come on, Pommy Pie. Get on there very quickly.
Texter, give us your colours. Now... Don't forget Group 1 Morts. He sponsors you and, of course, Loans 1, 2, 3. Never ending back at the track next Friday night. He'll be, I think I just spotted him. He's already here. He's just waiting for the week. Can't get out of the joint.
You're building a wing on the end of the grandstand there, which is terrific. Go well today, Marty, and we'll be on 30 minutes before each game to try and tip our listeners into a winner.
Looking forward to that. We've got Craigio's funeral tomorrow. That'll be a big one. 1 o'clock, out at Fremantle at the West Chapel.
Where's the wake?
I don't know.
At the Broken Hill?
I'd imagine it would be at the Broken Hill, Counting down to 8 o'clock, Bradley. Thanks for coming on the program today.